Well, hello there and welcome to the bedroom of the dollhouse for another reading and commentary on The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Hugh Stelfers for December 11th, the day of intensity. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of intensity. Well, we have us an image of, you know what? I guess you'd call it like a bas relief or a bas relief, however you say it, of a lion's head ensconced on a wall and being overgrown by some leaves, or perhaps a lion's head protruding from the bushes. Who's to say? It's up to interpretation, I suppose. That being said, representational image aside, maybe we'll make some connotations for why they chose that as we get on with the read. But it's not altogether all too important. No, sir or ma'am, what is important is it's someone's birthday today. That's right. So is it December 11th and it's your birthday? Well, if it is, I just want to say happy birthday. That's what's important. However, that being said, a lot of times these videos find people late. They're not necessarily searching for their birthday on the day. And if that's the case, I just want to say I hope you had a happy birthday. That's right. But for everybody else who's joining us randomly, or more ideally, to celebrate the December 11th birthday, I want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that's roll some dice. That's right. It is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake, but I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And I rolled us a 1 and a 2 for a 3. Now, what is synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, folks, a lot of times we get out in this world and we're very narrow of focus, right? We've got our goals or our errands to run, and so we just go after them real laser-like. We got the blinders on, if you like. And this is just an exercise in getting those blinders off. And why do I say that? Well, as it's been told to me, or as I've heard, the universe is prone to putting things in our path, right? We manifest things, goals, aspirations. Well, it's said that the universe is there for us to make those things become reality. But a lot of times we don't notice the things it's putting in our path. Sometimes we'll avoid them or we miss them altogether. And that being said, the universe will adjust course for us and put those things there for us later on down the line. But again, we don't notice them. We're very singular of focus. You ever notice somebody mentions a car or something and you start seeing them pop up all over the place? Well, that's the aim here. That's the exercise to get us a communication, a direct line with the universe there, and ask it to show us things. That's right. Show numbers. It's a signpost, something to recognize. That's right. So and you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled you though, but it is ideal you take a set of dice, right? So you can ascribe, say, directional values and numbers to number sets there, or time limits by which to go in those directions. But that said, once you get all that established, you set out. But make sure that you're eagle-eyed about things and you're soaking up the information around you like a sponge. You might be focused on your numbers, but don't have the blinders up, all right? Take them down. Sometimes the universe will start throwing things at you that aren't the numbers. To say the day might start to take on a theme. Maybe you start seeing lions everywhere. I don't know, not necessarily poking out of the bushes, but hey, maybe in sticker form up on a road sign, or maybe in an advertisement on the side of a bus, if you like. Stuff like that. But you never know what form it might take on. That being said, you set off, you get your first time value and direction down. Maybe you stop at the end of your time limit, and you haven't seen anything as of yet. But maybe you have, and you just didn't really take note of it. Like I said, stay eagle-eyed. But hey, maybe a bus pulls up, right? And hey, there's nothing on the side of it. It's just a normal bus. But hey, what number is it? What number is that bus? Hey, maybe it's the number 12. Hey, those are your numbers there. You know what? You might not like to ride the bus all that often, if ever. Maybe you abhor the very notion. But you know what? This is an exercise today. We got to expand our horizons. Take off the blinders. So get on there. Hey, maybe you just so happen to have perfect change in your pocket to ride the thing. Or maybe you don't. Hey, you know what? Maybe the guy on the bus tells you to get off. All right, I'll get off. The universe is telling you, maybe not, maybe not. So roll yourself dice again. All right, get your number, get your direction, get off again. And hey, you know what? Maybe you get to the end of the directional value there and you're not seeing anything. Well, you know what? Sometimes anomalies stand out. You know what? Take a look around you. Maybe in the crowd of people, someone's wearing like a pink shirt and everybody else isn't wearing anything all that interesting. You know what? That could be it. That could be the sign, all right? Go with instinct here a little bit. Roll your dice, find out how long to follow that individual. All right, now it sounds a little creepy, so give yourself a moment. Don't make it obvious you're stalking them if you like, although we probably don't want to use that word. But you know what? Hey, maybe you're following them, and maybe these people are a little more eagle-eyed than the other folks, and they see that you're following them, and they confront you about it. Hey, if that's the case, just be upfront, be transparent. You've got your dice. You got this video on your phone, ostensibly. Show them what's up. Tell them what's going on. Hey, you know what? They're not apt to believe you, you wouldn't think. But you know what? It's just too far outside the realm of reality that you're up to these things. So let them know what's going on. Show them this video. And hey, wouldn't you know it? Maybe it's their birthday too. You know what? Stranger things have happened. And you know what? Maybe you just made a new friend. Maybe that's what all this was about. And you know what? Maybe they join you, all right? Maybe they join you in the process because they want to see, taste, touch, feel, maybe even smell a little bit of the magic, just like the rest of us, all right? Maybe they say, okay, where do we go now? And you go, I don't know. I was following you. Where were you going? You go, oh, well, I was going to the zoo. Oh, you know what they got at the zoo, right? Lions, ostensibly hiding in the bushes there. Who's to say? Like I said, the theme, the anomalies, the numbers. Who's to say maybe this guy, he's got a 12 on his shirt or something. I don't know. But, I think you get the idea. So get out there, see, taste, touch, feel, maybe even smell a little bit of the magic, especially if you go to the zoo, though you probably don't like that smell, but I think you get where I'm going. So let's get into it, all right? Your birthday read. Your month is December. Your day is the 11th. Your sign is 18 to 20 degrees. Sagittarius, of the Sagittarius III period specifically, the first day of it. And your quality and element is mutable fire. All right, December 11th, the day of intensity. Those born on December 11 are basically serious individuals, intense, thoughtful, and filled with purpose. They are extremely well directed toward their goals and therefore difficult to stop. Despite their deep mental orientation, which is not necessarily a verbal one, it says in parentheticals, they often have a commanding physical presence as well. And this combination of thought and physicality makes them powerful individuals. The dynamism of December 11th people, it usually carries them through difficulties. However, if they are neglected, fall out of favor, or lose the support of either their teacher or their followers, they can experience tremendous psychological stress, sometimes even coming close to giving up or falling apart. Fortunately, those born on this day are capable of recovering from even the most drastic setbacks and making a comeback, after which they are still more resilient than before. Not so much their faith in themselves, but the nature of their indomitable energy, which seems to take over impersonally and have a life of its own, ensuring their success. As conduits of energy, those born on this day can have an enormous influence on those around them. Not only their words and deeds, but even their thoughts themselves can affect the feelings of their family, friends, and colleagues. One look at them may reveal how they feel, for they are quite transparent, and it is difficult for them to hide their emotions, which are usually written openly on their face or expressed in their body language for all to see. Paradoxically, they themselves may not be aware of what is obvious to others, and in this respect it is of great benefit for them to have an understanding mate or friend who can help them be more self-aware and keep them in touch with how others see them. And December 11 people can assume positions of great responsibility, but are not the best choice for positions requiring impartial arbitration. And their primary responsibility is to their work and ideas, or perhaps their moral understandings, and vision of how they wish life to be. And those born on this day take matters of right and wrong very seriously, and can indeed err on the side of being condemning and judgmental. And such judgment has a severe aspect and is usually taken to heart by others. As parents, December 11 people must be extremely careful not to lay heavy pressures on their children. In fact, a live and let live policy toward the world in general may be better than carrying the flaming sword of an avenging angel. Furthermore, December 11 people must learn to relax, have fun, and enjoy themselves. Often their high seriousness gets in the way of others feeling lighthearted. And if they can reserve their seriousness for their work and allow themselves to be more playful in their free time, they will greatly improve their quality of life. All right, how about that for a breakdown? A little bit narrow a focus, but they expanded on that focus there, and they incorporated a lot of the different facets of as much, or facets, more properly pronounced. That being said, hey, I mentioned this is a little bit of a commentary, so let's dive into some notes I made. See if I can't make some connections with other things or expand on some of the stuff that I thought was of note. So let's get into it, all right? But maybe get on the right part of the page, right? Okay, December 11th, the day of intensity. It says, you're physically serious individuals, or intense if you like, all right, who are thoughtful and primed with purpose, okay, to the extent that you are well directed toward your goals, difficult to stop, and deep in your mental orientation, all right, and commanding in your physical presence, and hence powerful individuals, all right. Dynamism that the reading further claims carries you through difficulties, all right? But you can experience debilitating psychological stress if you lose the support of those that are otherwise in your corner. The likes of which sounds as though it has quite the effect that it can cause you to fall apart or disengage from your efforts, all right? That's not very advisable, I would say. But that said, the reading claims that you can come back even more resilient in your efforts than before, but it adds the caveat that, or the caveat perhaps, it's that your energy is taking on an impersonal life of its own. Which sounds like a very advantageous outcome, but it's as if it's something you don't actually really want to do, at least the way I was reading it, which is really interesting, at least as far as I'm concerned, because some of us don't have all that much energy. We would just love to have that and allow us to get into our projects even more so, but like I was saying, it kind of seems as though you're just doing it to get on, going through the motions, if you like. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. Maybe they're just trying to relate how into the process you can get with such circumstances, or in such circumstances more so. But if it's the former, now I don't know that I would necessarily want to see that as a positive or a desirable income, all right? Because you don't, I mean, at least for me, I wouldn't want to be disengaged from what I'm doing, right? It's just kind of put one foot in front of the other kind of thing. But that being said, sometimes that's what we need to do to get out of that funk, especially if we're down in the doldrums and you know, especially if we're that broken down by the people that, or not necessarily the people that put us in that situation or disavowing ties. You know, that might be specific for you if it applies, but other times we can just get down on ourselves and lose the drive. And maybe going through the motions gets us back up on the horse, if you like. They also said that you have enormous influence on others, and it's also revealing of your emotions, or that you reveal your emotions, and you might not even pick up on as much. You might not be aware of it, as they said. So it's recommended that you find a means or a person who can help you become more self-aware. That's very interesting, I would say, because sometimes we might not even be aware that we're not self-aware. So if somebody can help us, I don't know, maybe even take credence of somebody pointing out such things. But that's kind of an interesting thing to examine, like being open to hearing as much, or at least giving an objective consideration to it. You know, asking the question, is that true? And really trying to step outside ourselves and let it sink in. And if you still think it's not true, then hey, so be it. Who are they to say, right? So, as long as you give it some consideration, you're open to hearing things, I say it's a plus. All right, taking those blinders off, like I said. It's a common trait for Sagittarius as well. Pretty much all of this kind of stuff. It takes on different forms, but it is quite a bit of a through line there. So all that being said, don't feel alone if you feel alone in as much, all right? And especially with all these kinds of struggles, all right? Because they and how they might affect you and make you feel like you're the only person it's affecting. That's not true. And especially insofar as, like I was saying, these things affect a lot of the Sagittarians in the same way, even though I'm sure it affects all these other folks in the world by and large also. So, yeah, takeaway, don't feel alone. I've totally been deviating from the notes quite a bit. So that says, by and large, you might be a little bit judgmental, right or wrong in your own moral understanding. All told, like I said, somewhat of a narrowly focused birthday breakdown, but they examined some really interesting facets, like I said before. They focused on what it might be like for you to be a parent and not to, be that avenging angel, or more of a live and let live kind of philosophy, if you like, for your kids and such. And they don't always dive into the parenting kind of thing. Sometimes they examine, like, maybe your childhood and such. So like I said, they did kind of examine things from a couple different perspectives. They didn't touch on the childhood thing. That was just an example. But like I said, they expanded on it a little bit for you. So I like when they do that, even if it's not a really broad-scoped kind of thing. But any event, that's about what I had to say, even though I deviated quite a bit from the notes. I think I hit most of the wickets. So let's dive in with your numbers and your planets. All right. Those born on the 11th of the month are ruled by the number 2, as 1 + 1 = 2, and by the moon. And those ruled by the number 2 often make good co-workers and partners, rather than leaders, it says. Imaginative and graceful qualities will be enhanced by the influence of the moon and Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius. It also lends character, idealism, and nurturing qualities. And the number 11 indicates a feeling for the physical plane, particularly true for December 11 people, it says in parentheticals, as well as a possible interest in doubles of various kinds, to say coincidences, twins, symmetry, mirror images, etc. Oh, so synchronicity might be right up your alley, or right up your through road, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of surprising we didn't roll a double, though. That would have been pretty kismet, wouldn't it? So now you know I'm not making this stuff up. It was a true dice roll, or else I would have made it a double. All right. In the event, that's been the numbers and planets in the book. Let's dive in with the commentary here. Now we turn the page. That's right. So the number 2 and the moon for an imaginative and graceful qualities, at least as imparted by the moon, and also with traits of character, idealism, and nurturing from Jupiter, the expansive, optimistic, jovial planet, which is said to lend influence into coming out on top. That's right. It also bolsters the effects of other primary rulership planets. What else do we have here? And then they said, as coupled with the moon, you get that nurturing and idealistic character, which is very interesting, because that doesn't necessarily come up all that often with the other moon days that aren't coupled with Jupiter. At least as far as I remember, I don't remember nurturing those coming up. That said, a lack of drive to come out on top is also said, well, I must have, okay. Let me start over here. Jupiter lends an optimistic viewpoint, all right, to just anybody who's co-ruled by it. Instead, luck and drive, not a lack of drive. It also imparts luck and drive to be on top, like I previously mentioned. But it's also said to bolster those primary rulership qualities. But what isn't mentioned of the moon is its passive and reflective qualities. A lot of times, that's what they drill down on, not this grace and imaginative quality. So I would say they personalized it here for you a little bit, or they took into consideration Jupiter and made sure to reflect as much in the breakdown. Because sometimes it's a copy-paste job, and they might just change the date. So rest assured, they personalize this one for you here a little bit, even if not much, but it's still something to take away with it. In any event, that's about what I had to say about your numbers and your planets. Let's move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies, even though it's not that new. But hey, even if we find such things to be, I don't know, blasphemous, we don't have to take it home with us to start dealing the cards out to like predict our future or whatever they're used for. So let's let it live on in the book, see what it has to say. Maybe we can make some connections here. The 11th card of the major arcana is Justice. A serene seated woman holding the scales in one hand and a sword in the other. And she reminds us of the order of the universe and that balance and harmony will be maintained in our lives as long as we continue on our path. The positive aspects of this card are integrity, fairness, honesty, and discipline. The negative aspects are low initiative, impersonality, fear of innovation, and grievances. All right, total copy-paste job here. Let's see if I can pick up a little bit of the slack there or just make some kind of connections to what we've read previously. All right, Justice for the reminder of the order of the universe. All right, and that balance and harmony will come if we continue on our path. All right, for integrity, fairness, honesty, and discipline. And I'd say here, hopefully for yourself as much as for others, okay? With negatives of low initiative, fear of innovation, and grievances. I would say this is a very apt card for you. And it's not like they just choose which one. Like I said, it's the 11th card of Major Arcana, and it's December 11th. So it's very interesting that a lot of the times these things line up just based on that. So like I said, very apt card considering the breakdown. And I would argue that Justice / this flaming sword with the Avenging Angel, I love that description here for you, that your giddy up and go energy keeping you on that path it just makes it even more apt, all right? But also this down in the doldrums kind of attitude for the setbacks, if you like. Boom, right there, another one. So I'd say it's great to continue on our path if it gets us out of a setback and is propelling us forward, like I said previously. But careful it isn't towards something you don't care about, all right? Otherwise you're basically, like I said, going through the motions. And that's no way to be either, at least by and large, I would argue. All right, we gotta, if it's getting us out of that thing and then we get on to something we do like, hey, perfect. But like I said, don't, I would hate to think that you're just kind of down in the trenches doing this thing that maybe you lost all your passion for. And you're just you're still down in the doldrums, but it's masked, right? I think you get the point, so just be wary of it, I would say. That being said, that's been your tarot, so let's move on to your health. That's right, your health. Those born on December 11 must beware of sedentary occupations taking a toll on them physically, especially since they have a tendency to gain weight, supposedly. In this respect, both exercise and diet are crucially important for their good health. Meat, dairy, fats, sugar, excess starch, particularly unbleached white flour, it says in parentheticals, and in general too much rich food should be reduced, and in their place, fresh vegetables, fruits, and grains substituted. Sexual expression and plenty of dream time are important for December 11 people. Their minds are usually busy with thoughts, and the emotional side of their personality may make it difficult for them to focus and calm themselves. They must cultivate greater willpower, learn not to get upset, and stay loose. All right, how about that? This was a pretty personalized health entry. They generally are, but sometimes they kind of take things and repeat them, I would say. But like I said, pretty individualized here. So let's get into why I say that. Beware the sedentary occupation, all right, especially considering a tendency to gain weight, apparently. Though I don't know how the stars dictate that, but let's just go with it. Quite a change from the typical health entries this period, though I have no idea how they arrive at such things, kind of like I said. That said, your exercise and diet, sexual expression, and dream time are crucial. They got really specific with the health. And I know a lot of times, we hear these fad diets on the TV or all this, we can stay away from this, stay away from that. they got really specific. This isn't something that they just carried forward from one day to the next and like, oh yeah, of course, vegetables and unbleached white flour. No, unbleached white flour, I think that's the first time I've seen that in the book here. And I've read well over 100 of these things. So maybe the second time, all right, statistically speaking, but I think you get the point. They drilled down on a very specific diet. Hey, maybe try it out, see if it works for you, see if you feel better in general. What else do they have to say? The sexual expression, that doesn't get brought up very often either. And it's one of the reasons I put us here in the bedroom today there. Yeah, that's right, instead of the bathroom there. All right. What else do I have to say? Dream time, too. Huge. Second time this has come up since a Scorpio entry. So another rarity there. So you know what? Maybe take note of that. You got to get your dream time. There was one person one day, they said they needed like 10 hours of sleep a day. That was a unique one. So like I said, maybe take note. That's all I'm trying to say here. Foods to avoid. They didn't always make mention, like I said. Special mental concerns and life concerns are also mentioned. So there may be something to that also. So I'd say before Scorpio, psychological stuff rarely, if ever, came up. And to some extent, if they do drill down on the psychological, they ditch the diet as well as the exercise so that they can focus on that real heavy. Here you got a pretty well-rounded nutshell of everything. I don't know, maybe they're not even a nutshell. Is that adequate of a description? I think they really well rounded this out for you here. They tell you to stay, that you're busy with your thoughts, and the emotional side of your personality may make it difficult for you to focus and calm yourself. Hey, you know what? It's a Sagittarius through line as well. You know, it's because you got all that energy ostensibly, right? So stay loose. I think that's the first time I've read that in here too. So in any event, my point being, they very highly personalize this for you. So cultivate willpower and calmness, and huge suggestions if an emotional side is an issue for you. So in any event, maybe it isn't, so just take it with a grain of salt. Salt to taste. Very good general information otherwise. That being said, that's been your health. So let's move on to some advice. All right. Go with the flow and accept what happens when you can. Maintaining a positive orientation can better your condition and that of those you love. Laughter keeps you healthy. All right. The advice is usually kind of sparse, and here it is also. That being said, I thought they added a lot of value. But let's see what I had to say about these things here. I had to write it in the book, so bear with me. My printing can get small. So in any event, your advice. All right. Accept what happens when you can. That's what they said. And I wrote, when you can. That's right. Truer words, but it takes time and it takes effort. All right. It takes the willpower too sometimes. As easy as it sounds, we can make it more complicated than it needs to be, right? So I'd say keep pushing on, keep efforting. Go through the motions if you have to until it becomes second nature and you're excited to do it, I would say. What else do we got here? Maintain positive orientation. Time and effort again, all right? When you can. Okay. Willpower too, okay? No, we're just repeating everything, but I think it makes sense. And just remember, Jupiter is the planet, the jovial planet of optimism, all right? So you've got that on your side. So just lean into it when you can. And the negatives aren't worth it, I would argue, okay? Even though sometimes that can give us a little bit of a lift, or maybe not even lift is the right word, but a little bit of drive to get on with things. Use it sparingly, I would say, and only when you need to. Leaning on the other way, on the optimism. The benefits are going to feel better too, okay? Also, for those you love. They're not going to want to see the negative stuff. That being said, the last part of the advice, laughter keeps you healthy. True, all right? And it also promotes a positive orientation. The jovial planet Jupiter there, in the face of what is otherwise negative. All right. So that being said, that's been your advice. Let's take the energy down just a hair and move on to your meditation. Oh, we got a meditation for you. That's right. What is it? Ooh, this is a very simple one. We've had a couple of these this period. Here we go. Thinking can make it so. All right. Not quite sure why they chose this one for you, but hey, that's not for me to determine. Let's one more time here. Thinking can make it so. All right. That's been your meditation. It's your birthday. I'm not going to throw some kind of interpretation on it or spin to put it in line with what I think. It's your meditation, your birthday. That's just for you. That being said, let's move on to your strengths and weaknesses. That's right. Let's look at ourselves objectively and see where we're strong, but maybe see where we're weak. All right. Ostensibly. Let's go. Oh, interesting. You only got 2 for each one. Usually it's 3. Your strengths, you're purposeful, and you're influential. All right. I like that. Purpose and influence. A great combination, I'd argue. But your weaknesses, oh, let's hold up that objective mirror and spin it to the side that blows up your face. That's right. It shows off all the pock marks from when you was picking your chicken pox scabs as a kid, and that carried forward with you all this time, and Botox don't plump those up. That's right. Yeah, let's look at the weaknesses here. You're self-involved and self-unawares. That's right. Self-involved, self-unaware. Interesting. You know what? Self-involved popped up the other day too, so that must be carrying over a little bit. A little bit of a Sagittarius through line there. That being said, you know what? I like to argue sometimes that our weaknesses can be strengths. It just depends on the situation. So one of the strengths, I would say, is knowing when to use our weaknesses, or what are considered weaknesses, right? It's all subject to situation, I would argue. But that said, if you feel like you need to improve upon those, I like to also argue that your strengths are something that are going to get you over those hurdles. You're purposeful and influential. Hey, just approach those weaknesses with purpose and with the influence there. I don't know what the influence would be, but hey, if you're influencing other folks, maybe you can influence yourself. That's right. There we go. That's a pretty good argument, I'd say. That being said, those are your strengths and weaknesses. Haven't been related. Let's move on to those born on this day. That's right. Let's see who shares your company. See what lottery you drew. But I also like to examine something that I find important with this, and that I think you will too, considering the breakdown, and that's figuring out our passions. That's right. Too often I get out in the world and meet folks, ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. All right. And I think you can't blame people for that, because it's just there's not enough time to put into work to figure those things out. Sometimes we don't even know what we like when it comes down to it. And so I think this is a perfect opportunity to not only see who shares your company, but what they did to get in the book, what put them on the map, if you like. It might not necessarily have been their passions, but hey, you know what? It defined who they were to some extent. And let's just lead with the assumption it was their passion, all right? It was something that they loved. And if that's something that you find you're at a deficit for, well, hey, maybe we can take some inspiration from what they did to maybe inspire us to figure out what our passions are. And maybe you already know what your passions are, but you just don't know how to make them financially viable. Hey, you know what? Maybe me putting the bug in your ear about all this is going to help stir up the fires of as much and get you on that path so you're not just going through the motions. All right, because I think it's important that we're jumping out of bed each day to get into our day. Just loving our life and finding it fulfilling. That's right. And I think a passion or a purpose, that's right. You're purposeful. You know what? I think that's what sets everything apart. So anyway, I think you get the idea. Let's dive in with those born on this day. We have Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Nobel Prize-winning Russian writer of Gulag Archipelago and a novelist of Cancer Ward. We also have Jean Racine, a French 17th century playwright, and it says a tragedian. Not quite sure what that is, but we can assume, right? We also have Robert Koch, who was a Nobel Prize-winning biologist, isolation of tuberculosis bacillus. Isolated some bacteria there, it sounds like. We have Furiello LaGuardia, probably, a New York mayor and U.S. congressman, and a crusader against corruption. We also have McCoy Tyner, a jazz pianist and a composer. We also have Hector Berlioz, perhaps, a French romantic composer. We also have Ursula Bloom, a British novelist, playwright, and writer of 500 books, 50 plays for radio. Boy, that's prolific, I would say. We have Bhagwan Shri, Rajneesh, the Indian guru. Was he the subject of that one Netflix doc? Might just be. Interesting. Grace Polly, a short story writer, responsible for a work by the name of Enormous Changes at the Last Minute. We also have Nagiub Mahfouz, an Egyptian Nobel Prize-winning writer of Wedding Song. We also have Carlo Ponti, an Italian film producer. Rita Moreno, a stage and film actress as well as a singer. We also have Jim Harrison, a poet and scriptwriter and novelist of Warlock. We also have Jean-Louis Trintignant, perhaps, a French film actor. We also have Big Mama Thornton, a blues singer. Susan Siedelman, a film director of Desperately Seeking Susan. We also have Christine Onassis, an heir and a business executive and one of the world's wealthiest women, and died at the age of 38. Wow. Taken early, it sounds like. We also have Gilbert Roland, a film actor, Enrique Bermúdez, a Nicaraguan Contra founder and assassinated. We also have Alfred de Musset, a French poet, novelist, and playwright of Confession d'un Enfant de Sicile. I'll tell you what, the French today, they always get me, the French names, also the Russians. So you know what? Let's make up for me butchering the names there by butchering the company logo on my side of things. It's not done in malice, it's just hooked on phonics. Doesn't work with me with the names there and some larger words, if you like. But that being said, that has been those born on this day, and that essentially rounds out your birthday reading, except to say your season is fall, your sign is Sagittarius. Now, of this Sagittarius III period specifically, like I said, the first day of as much, and your quality and elements is mutable fire. And this has been December 11th, the day of intensity, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers. I don't know that we really made a connotation with the lion that was in the bushes there, but who's to say? Purpose and influential. Hey, lions got that, don't they? I don't know, who's to say. Not necessarily altogether important, that's right. I got an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy. Save you the hassle of having to type it in the browser there, and it supports the channel if you shop through the link, which I appreciate. But that being said, not altogether all too important. But what is important, like I said at the top, is wishing you a happy birthday. That's right, so happy birthday. I don't know if you drew any inspiration from hearing people who share your birthday, but you know what? Maybe putting the bug in your ear about as much is just what you needed. I hope so, if anything, for your birthday, that's what that does for you. Is, you know, you need to feel fulfilled in life, so I think you get it. That being said, like I said, I hope you have a happy birthday. And for everybody else that joined us, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourself and you join us for your birthday read as well. But lest I forget, your daily numbers. That's right, your 1 and your 2 for a 3. I know it wasn't a double, but hey, you know, things don't always line up like that. That being said, you can roll your own dice, remember? And you might just get you some doubles. Go straight to jail and all that. But in any event, hey, this has been a pleasure, all right? And like I said, I hope you have a happy birthday. All right, stay influential, stay purposeful. Don't just put one foot in front of the other because you know what, you know how to do it and you got the energy to do it. Find a purpose, find some fulfillment. And you know what, see, taste, touch, feel some of that magic out there. Maybe even smell some, all right? If anything I can hope for you on your birthday, it's that you're enjoying yourself, you got your passion behind you, or you're well on your way. And that's right. You know all the other things. We've gone over them. So that's right. Take care of yourself. Happy birthday.